Hello everybody, this is Kai Marin, and Tales of Xillia Remastered has just been announced. Alright, and I'll say this, I'm not the biggest Tales fan out there. I've played 3 of the games. Vesperia, which is pretty good, Berseria, which, one of my favorite games of all time actually. I really like Berseria, and then Arise. And honestly, Arise kind of sucked ass. But anyways, and I'm playing Legendia right now. I'm not a massive fan, but the series does kind of have its charm. So I hear this and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I could play Tales of Xillia, you know, because it's a PS3 game, which is, and it's not the most accessible. But, and as you can see, the characters are all here, although this Elise chick literally looks like a alternate AU version of Magilu or something. But anyways, looking pretty cool, although there's a Tales of Xillia 2, which I guess they're not remastering this one. Man, remember the old days where you would have like collections of remastered games? Nah, these days it's like, okay, full price and you get one. Okay? So that's total bullshit. It should definitely be Tales of Xillia 1 and 2 remastered. But whatever. Alright. However, though, go over here. What's new? And it's all standard stuff back with vivid graphics. Alright, real fancy. Bunch of other stuff. Oh, at least they're including the original DLC. Alright. Some of these remastered games literally try and charge you extra for the DLC. Again! But anyways, though, however, all the way down here, buried at the bottom, here it is. Some expressions were changed from the original work in consideration of ethics. In light of ethics, we have changed some expressions from the original work. So, the game is being censored. They're just outright admitting that they're censoring the game. Alright, this is total bullshit. And this is kind of, and look, they are kind of flying this under the radar. They don't specify exactly what's being censored or for what reason. But, I mean, it's best just to assume the worst in these kinds of situations, and it really is so insane. Like I said, this is the issue with this sort of localization business. We had the era of garbage localizations, and then they got pretty good for a little bit, and now they're just bad again. Alright, and it's not even because of incompetence, it's literally just because of whatever, right? And I first heard about this from this guy, Linkasobi, on Twitter. And people in this thread, at least, are not very happy about it. Ethics appease xenophobic and heterophobic journos who hate JRPGs. That's probably what's going on. If they got rid of the skit, if they got rid of the Bazonga skit, I'll murder them. Honestly, they probably did. Alright, let's be real. More DI bullshit from Bandai Namco. You know, whatever. So, we'll see. This is really unfortunate, though. But also, another point, so this is, I guess, the American website, but I was reading through this, and this seemed a little sus to me. It seemed kind of, I ran it through a check, and according to these two, according to 0GBT, it is a 93.9% chance of being AI, and according to Decopy AI, it's 68%. So they might be using, the copywriters on this might be using AI to write the freaking ad. Like, my god, that would be hilarious if true. But anyways, though, this really shows a very unfortunate trend that we've been seeing in the, you know, and like I said, with localization particularly. Because, look, there's all these, you know, our culture is kind of dictated by a very small minority, you know? This is kind of what, you know, you have all these, like, game journos, and you have all these leftists, like the people who work at Sweet Baby Inc., dictating what these game companies can produce, even though they represent, like, 0.1% of gamers at the absolute most, and then they just start pumping out garbage. And even worst of all, they go back and retroactively change products. You know, they censor things. Yeah, and this seems to be another victim. At the very least, I don't think PS3 emulation's that great, but, I mean, it's playable on RPCS3, so, I mean, go right ahead. And at least you could say for the Tales series, this isn't the first time. Like, this is really funny, but there's this, Berseria was censored, so in the original game, a kid gets stabbed with a sword. But in the new game, he gets impaled by two magic whatevers. I mean, one of these seems a little more violent, but... Anyways, though, like I said, it is unfortunate to watch these Japanese companies kowtow to these, Western leftist demands, and it's just getting worse and worse over time. Like, look, basically every single one of these companies is woke. Like, Bandai Namco right here, promotion of diversity and inclusion. This is, every one of these companies has a DEI page. All of these major Japanese companies. Holy shit. So yeah, here's their promotion of diversity and inclusion. Oh my god. Pokemon Company International, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nintendo, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Sega, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Konami, diversity and inclusion. Capcom, development personnel division. Oh, development personnel diversity. I guess this is their version. And then Square Enix, sustainability and social responsibility. That doesn't sound out as bad till you get to the bottom. And diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then, oh yeah, and in Square Enix's case, the reason why they made Tifa's chest smaller in the remake was because of an ethics department. So Square Enix confirmed has a bunch of feminists on staff whose only job is to bitch about the products being made and forcing them to change it to be more politically correct. And that's it. That's all they do. And I'm sure basically every one of these companies has something similar. Like, let's go back to... So yeah, like I said, it is unfortunate how this is the way things are going. We don't know exactly what the censorship's going to be or how bad it will be. There's no way of knowing. But I mean, honestly, even just a little bit of censorship is unacceptable in my opinion. Even Tales of Berseria changing this one scene, that's too much. We should be getting, especially in the case of Tales of Berseria, I mean, this game was rated M for mature. All right. 17-plus-year-olds can handle a kid getting stabbed, okay? There isn't even any gore. All right. All right, we can handle these kinds of games. And honestly, look, if it's a ratings issue, then just bump up the ratings. The rating, all right? The people who want to play these games are mature enough to appreciate them, to understand them, no matter what the content in them is. All right? You shouldn't be having to change it for the Western audience or because a bunch of retards on Twitter think it's problematic. But anyways, though, like I said, this is another unfortunate development. More censorship, never a good sign. And like I said, this is probably just because of, anime isn't as bad yet, but the Japanese video game industry has very quickly been overtaken by wokeism, by DEI, whatever. Like I said, all the major companies I just showed you, that's all real. Honestly, the only real saving grace for now is that it's all still mostly Japanese people making these games. But I mean, look, once they start importing like Westerners en masse and making them a part of the creative process, like Western lefties, all this is going to go to complete shit. Mark my words. Like, imagine we get like Final Fantasy 17 that's developed in America. Like, oh my god, it's going to be a disaster. I mean, even some of these Japanese games that are developed in Japan by Japanese teams have been pretty bad. I mean, Final Fantasy, like, 7 Rebirth, I think. I mean, I didn't play it, but it wasn't exactly that... didn't look too promising, I'll say that much. But anyways, though, that's about it for me. Yeah, comment down below what you guys think. Are you still going to buy the game anyway? Are you going to ride in the streets? Honestly, you might as well at this point. Yeah, like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more content in the future. Thank you guys all for watching, and goodbye.